Valentine's bouquets come in all shapes and prices, but how do you know which one's best when there's so many out there to choose from? Well, it's simple. 1-800-Flowers.com is your Valentine's go-to. Right now, when you order early, you can get 24 multicolored roses for only $29.99. Or upgrade to 24 romantic red roses for only $10 more. It's an unbelievable Valentine's offer from 1-800-Flowers. 24 multicolored roses for just $29.99. Or upgrade to red roses for only $10 more. Roses from 1-800-Flowers are picked at their peak, shipped overnight to ensure freshness and her amazement. 24 multicolored roses for only $29.99 or an upgrade to 24 red roses for just $10 more is the perfect reward for thinking ahead. Look, make sure you lock in this offer. It's only good while supplies last. To order 24 multicolored roses for $29.99 or upgrade to 24 red roses for only $10 more, go to 1-800-Flowers.com, click on the radio icon, and enter the code WINGO. That's 1-800-Flowers.com and enter code WINGO. Order today at 1-800-Flowers.com, code WINGO.
On March 4th in Las Vegas, the top drivers in the game are going all in to win the Pennzoil 400 Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series race presented by Jiffy Lube, where the checkered flag is the ultimate jackpot. Make the switch to Pennzoil Synthetics to get complete protection for top engine performance.
Golic and Wingo with you on ESPN Radio and ESPN2, presented by Progressive Insurance. All phone guests join us via the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Coming up a little later on today, Todd McShay will join us. He's got his latest mock draft out.
Yes, he does.
As we sort of begin the transition from the end of the season to what I call the player procurement season.
There you go. And we're going to get into that draft in just a little bit with Todd, obviously, when he's here, but just shortly as we're allowed to start talking about it now.
Yeah, see, I think there's no off season in the NFL. I think there's really four. It's divided into four parts. We're right now in the first part, which is the player procurement season, which is the combine, pro days, the draft, and free agency. And then you have the preseason, right? Which is, OTAs, mini camps, training camps, and all of that. Then there's the regular season, and then there's the postseason. So to me, there's really no off season. No off season, and we talk about it a lot. Except for last off season, the NBA really took charge. Absolutely,
and this off season, the NBA is going to be special again. So certainly helps our cause.
Yes, it does. The NBA and this off season for the NFL, the player procurement era is going to be great because of all the quarterbacks that'll be available. Right. So that'll be very interesting going forward. We got a lot to get to, and we'll get into my top 5 stories for the NFL offseason or the player procurement season as we begin. But first, let's start with what's trending. And it's bad news for Gronk. He's had a bad couple of days, Mike. They lost the Super Bowl, not because of him.
No.
He was the difference maker in the second half. He really was for the New England Patriots after only one catch for 9 yards in the first half against the Eagles. But police have confirmed a break-in at the home of the Patriots tight end in Foxborough, Massachusetts, according to multiple reports.
Yeah, well, they certainly knew he wasn't going to be there. He was going to be somewhere else.
Yeah.
So the police got there about 6:00, and they were there most of the night going over it. So, that's a shame. The burglars know exactly when people that are on a schedule like that are home and not home and what they're doing, and marked his house. And I didn't hear all the stuff they might have gotten away with or stolen. I don't know if that's been out yet.
Let's see what we got. There were items stolen. We're not going to release the nature of those items stolen. This is from the one of the policemen there, Foxborough chief of police.
I know he lives close to the stadium.
Very close to the stadium. Yeah. Obviously, the people who committed the theft know what was stolen. It's an investigative advantage for us to know that as well. We'll not share it with the public. I will not have any further comments on that time.
All right.
But man, leave Gronk alone. What did he ever do to you?
Come on now.
All he's done is put his body on the line for you guys, and you guys going to rip him off?
Well, seems so.
That's just wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Staying with what's trending, the Pistons beat the Blazers 111-91 to remain undefeated since trading for Blake Griffin. That's a 4-game winning streak. And, Mike, they're back at 500 and now tied with the Sixers for the 8th and final playoff spot in the East.
We talked about this earlier, and even when the trade was made, about where Detroit can go, what will be their ceiling. As I said, everybody wants to win the title, and I know that's their goal, but what's the more realistic goal is getting a name player like Blake Griffin, putting some butts in the seats, and where can you get as far as the conference is concerned, and where would you be happy to get? And I've had a few people tweeting me, watch out, Detroit is an up-and-coming city, and they're going to make a move. I don't know. Do you think free agents, big-time free agents, and and I'm not saying this from the city side, I'm just saying it from the Detroit Pistons side of it as well, and you have to throw some of it as a city on where you're going to go. Do you believe that's going to be a destination for top free agents?
Well, look, I think it's possible, but there are some things going against it. I mean, there just are. You know, if you have the choice for going, when LeBron left, he didn't go to Detroit. He went to South Beach.
He went to South Beach. And again, we're talking about when you have a choice, because some are trades, that we saw happen. Now, some of these guys that were traded now will have a choice to go where they want to go, but others are traded. Like Jimmy Butler to Minnesota is a trade, that's a place where the thought is, boy, with Wiggins and Butler and Karl Anthony Towns, I mean, is that going to be, are there going to be some free agents that look at that? That's what they were trying to get down in New Orleans. With Boogie Cousins and with Anthony Davis. Now, Cousins going down with the Achilles is obviously may not look as attractive, and thinking the rest of Boogie Cousins' career, how that can be coming back from that injury. But I'm talking about, just a free agent, a big-time free agent choosing, like Kevin Durant choosing Golden State. Are you going to get someone like that choosing to go to Detroit and say, yeah, we can overtake or be the top team in the East now? And that's because, as we said, when you get to max numbers, which is different than football. Numbers are you're getting the same amount where you go. Right. So now you have to choose, am I going to a no-tax place? Am I going to a geography of where I want to be? Where does my family want to be? Where is this team's chance of winning a ring? There's a lot of things that are involved in it.
Look, what has been the issue with Cleveland? Okay, you have the best player in LeBron James, but can you recruit people there? Kyrie wanted to leave. Yeah. He was drafted there. Right. Some of that was because he wanted to be the man. I get that. But I think part of it was, hey, what's more attractive to me? And he felt Boston was a more attractive option. As for Blake, he signed through 2021. If they start to win, look, you know how this goes. If there's winning involved, that certainly changes things dramatically. But to the point about tax dollars, I mean, one of the biggest signings in the NFL this offseason was Calais Campbell. Right. He grew up basically in Denver, and he was trying to decide between Denver and Jacksonville. I think he made the right choice for a lot of reasons, but the lack of state income and income tax in Florida.
Keep a little more money.
Whatever money you're making, add it by about 30%. Yeah. And that's the difference. And sometimes and people are like, how can you say that when you're making so much money? Because you know what's enough? More. Yeah. More is always enough. And if you can make more, I think that's going to be a big part of it. Look, if they can find a way to get people more jazzed about the Detroit franchise with Blake there and Andre Drummond, and maybe get a really good draft pick again while they're still there together, and they start winning will always tip the scale for a lot of reasons. Right. But you're right. There are some things that they're going to have to overcome. We love downtown Minneapolis when we were there for the Super Bowl, did we not?
Absolutely right.
But it was freaking cold.
It was cold.
It was very, very cold, and sometimes that's a selling point that they're going to have to get around. Can it work in Detroit? Yes, but there's some obstacles that they're going to have to get.
And the Florida state tax, I think, is 6%.
Yeah, there is state tax in Florida. I thought it was no state income tax in Florida. There's no state income tax in Florida. Florida and Arizona.
So I'm sorry. So that's about what you're saving, right? I mean, what a state tax would be. That's what you say. Yeah. You said 30%.
Yeah, I was being generous.
All right, there we go. Might save 6%.
I was told there would be no math on this show. Meanwhile, Hoops fans in New York City have some options tonight. Top two scorers in the NBA are in town. James Harden, who leads the NBA with over 31 points per game. And the Rockets will be taking on the Nets in Brooklyn at 7:30. But, Mike, that's not the only option they've got there.
No, it is not. This other game between the Bucks and the Knicks with Antetokounmpo and Porzingis. Antetokounmpo ranks second in the NBA with 77 contested dunks. And Porzingis has 9 blocked dunks this season, tied for the most in the NBA. Antetokounmpo has 7 of those blocks as well. So that will be interesting, as far as the dunks and going up to contest those dunks. And two players in the game today of where the game is going. These big guys, 6'11" and 7'3", who are good athletes and play away from the basket, as well as, boy, they're fun to watch around the rim as well.
And listen, we're talking about another destination city that might be interesting in the East. It might be Milwaukee. You've got Brogdon. You've got Antetokounmpo, and they just get Jabari Parker back from that ACL.
In Middleton, a lot of these guys haven't been on the court together.
They have a lot of interesting options for them, and they've actually won 6 of 7. So the firing of Jason Kidd seems to have worked on a short term anyway. I mean, but that's a team that has a lot of interesting things that you can build around.
I've asked you, look at some of these teams: New Orleans, say now Detroit, Minnesota, Milwaukee. Of those teams, which do you think would be able to attract a big-time free agent going forward?
Well, I mean, just based on the city itself?
No. Based on the team. Obviously, the city is part of it, but based on the team, figuring out that a big-time free agent wants to go win somewhere, where would be that place? Where would be that destination place of where you think you can win somewhere? And these aren't the LAs and the New Yorks of the world, Milwaukee, Detroit, Minnesota. If you want to throw New Orleans, though, I think with Boogie Cousins being hurt now, that really hurts that situation.
That changes that.
So say Milwaukee,
completely.
Minnesota, Detroit.
Yeah.
Minnesota's the best team of those teams we're talking about right now, it would seem. So where would that big-time free agent want to go?
You're right. I think Milwaukee has the best team right now, but maybe the biggest upside is Milwaukee.
No, Minnesota has the best team.
Minnesota, yeah.
And Milwaukee has the best upside.
I think Milwaukee has the potential to have the biggest upside with the roster they're building, and you have one of the great superstars in the game locked up for a while in Antetokounmpo. I mean, I think that one's going to be interesting because there's a lot of things that are already set up there, and you have things in place, and you have Brogdon on his rookie deal already.
Right.
I think that one's interesting. I really
I
like
do
that
as well.
more than,
I do
more
as
than
well on
anything
how
else.
they build, and then what coach they're going to get next year as well.
Well, they again, it's nothing against Jason Kidd, but sometimes change is necessary, and they've won 6 of 7. Can they continue going forward and see what happens in the playoffs? That'll be determinant. But I really like what they're doing with the Bucks in Milwaukee. Okay, so that's what's going on in the NBA right now. Now they asked me for some homework.
Yes, they did. Before you go away, you had to do a little homework.
And they asked me for my top 5 storylines in the offseason going into 2018 in the NFL.
Okay.
So they dressed this up for television, so we're going to start. We have a big fancy thing here.
All right, good.
Trey's top 5 off-season storylines.
I love the fact they got you in your laugh.
You do his laugh really well.
I did it better before I was losing my voice, but you're right. All right, here is number 5.
Who exactly is Dak Prescott?
Only God knows, really.
And I think that's a big question
That
for the
is a
Dallas
big question,
Cowboys.
yeah.
Look, obviously Dak was hurt a little bit by the loss of Zeke Elliott for 6 games. But if you look at the numbers, his rookie year, when he lit the world on fire and they were the number 1 seed, he had 23 touchdown passes against only 4 interceptions. This year he had 22 touchdown passes, 13 interceptions, Mike.
Right.
His yards per attempt went down from almost 8 per attempt to under 7. His completion percentage dipped from 68% to 63%. And I think a big part of this is, can they figure out what Dak does well and they can put the pieces in place around him?
Yeah, and the O-line was not what it was this year.
No, it wasn't.
As opposed to last year's, with Tyron Smith being hurt a lot at left tackle, you left guard, you playing a little bit of musical chairs for Jonathan Cooper, kind of took that spot over, but it was a position they had to fill. L. Collins, who was there last year, was out at right tackle, learning that position. So they went through a little bit of transition as well. So we'll see. We'll see where they go for in free agency in the draft. Did they get a speedy receiver? They still got work to do on defense as well, because the teams at running back and quarterback, they're obviously set. A lot of talk on Dez Bryant. I don't think Dez is going anywhere, but you have to wonder, do they pick up that fast and that speedy type receiver?
Well, Dez hasn't been that guy since 2014. Now, some of that's injuries, but you know what? When you play as physical as Dez does, those injuries tend to mount up pretty quickly.
Yep.
In 2014, he had 16 touchdown receptions, including one that should have counted in the playoffs but didn't, against the Packers in that divisional round game. But he hasn't been that guy in a couple of years. The Cowboys have to get faster Terrence Williams is not a fast receiver.
No.
Cole Beasley's not a fast receiver. They need more team speed, but they've got to figure out what Dak does well and build around him, because they made that commitment.
Yeah, they did.
As soon as they said, hey, we're in with Dak all the way, and that's why Tony Romo's in the booth now, as opposed to playing for the Dallas Cowboys. They need to figure out what Dak does well, work around him, and develop him into being the best quarterback he can be, because he took a little bit of a sophomore slump. They can't have him taking a third-year slump as well. He's got to be better, and they've got to get better around him. Because the Cowboys, over the last 5 years, Mike, are the only number 1 seed not to make it to the Super Bowl. 9 out of the 10 number 1 seeds the last 5 seasons have made it to the Super Bowl. The Cowboys were the only one that didn't, and they didn't win a single game when they had home field advantage in the NFC. So that was storyline number 5. Here is storyline number 4.
Of the 8 new playoff teams, how many are here to stay and how many were flashes in the pan?
There's people that think LeBron James sucks.
And look, you had the Jacksonville Jaguars make it. You had the Buffalo Bills make it.
Right.
The Rams made it. So you had all these. Now the Saints are a different story because they have Drew Brees and all this kind of stuff.
Right.
Maybe they would have a 3-year absence. But we had 8 playoff teams make the postseason in 2017 that weren't there in 2016. Normally we get 5 or 4 in and out every year. So which one of these teams, of these 8 that made it back in, do we believe can be there for the long haul? I mean, for crying out loud, the Super Bowl champs, the Eagles, were one of those teams.
Yeah, I think Jacksonville could be one of those. Don't you? I mean,
I do.
We'll see what goes on with the quarterback position now. Yeah. Now with the whole Blake Bortles having the surgery and he's going to get that $19 million guarantee, what direction do they go? But I love how they're building and have built so far. And in that division, now you're going to get Andrew Luck back, so we'll see. But Andrew Luck, while he has struggled, he's had zero around him.
Nothing.
And I don't know how quickly they can rebuild with that around him. So I think Jacksonville is a team that can stay. How about another? It's amazing. The two of the team, Jacksonville gets all the way to the AFC Championship game, and all the way to the NFC Championship game is Minnesota.
Yeah.
And they have the quarterback situation. What's going to happen there? Is Blake Bortles going to be the guy in Jacksonville? What happens in Minnesota? Is it going to be Case Keenum, Sam Bradford, which I don't think so, or Teddy Bridgewater they give the deal to? So those teams that we talk about have their situations at the quarterback position.
Number one defense in the NFL last year for the Vikings, and all three of their quarterbacks on expiring contracts, which is just so rare for a team that is good. Normally you have that situation when you want to reboot. There was a while, Arizona doesn't have a quarterback on their roster right now. There was a time when San Francisco didn't have a quarterback under contract last offseason on their roster. So usually when you look at a situation like that, it's for a team that struggled.
Right.
Minnesota did not struggle. They were a number 2 seed.
A team that I think could be there for a bit, and it might too be the makeup of the division. Seattle, their influx, right, with some of the defensive players, whether they're going to have back or not. Arizona Cardinals, they got to start over with a quarterback and such. They're going to be losing Larry Fitzgerald, whether it's now or in another year. And the San Francisco 49ers, I think, are on the way up.
Yep.
But how long will that take? So the Rams. I think the Rams with Goff, that O-line they rebuilt, the defense led by the defensive player of the year. By the way, your offensive player of the year, Todd Gurley,
and your coach of the year.
And your coach of the year as well. I think that's a team that's built to hang around for a bit.
So, again, we'll see how many of these can go. I'm with you. I like the Rams, and I like Jacksonville. There's Buffalo, but they've got issues at quarterback. And that leads me to offseason story number 3.
From free agency to trades to the draft class, the QB carousel goes round and round.
You like that?
It's going to be fascinating, Mike. We've never had an NFL offseason with so many quarterback questions and so many available that we believe are pretty talented at the quarterback position.
Well, you look at the draft, and, Cleveland needs a quarterback. The Giants will probably take one, but I'll touch on it in a second. Cleveland has the 1st and 4th pick. Denver looking for a quarterback. The Jets looking for a quarterback as well. So you look at the top 6 teams, and you're talking, 3 of those teams need a quarterback. So what happens in free agency first and or trades first before we even get to the draft? We'll get to Todd McShay's mock draft on who he has going number 1. Shock of all shocks, it's a quarterback. But that could all change if all of a sudden Cleveland, John Dorsey does not like, Joe Thomas sat in here and said, John Dorsey, the new GM, does not like playing rookie quarterbacks.
And they have a ton of money.
What veteran do they bring in? They tried to trade for Alex Smith.
Yep.
But Washington had the better deal by throwing in the player they did in the cornerback. So where do they go as far as, and even if they get a veteran, do they still draft one of these rookies to kind of prepare along the way? So free agency takes hold first in this, so that could change up the top of this draft.
Look, potentially we have 5 quarterbacks that could go in the first round of the draft, but where they go will be completely determined by what happens. The only thing we do know that it's done, but it's not done because it can't be done until March, is that Alex Smith is leaving Kansas City. Patrick Mahomes will take over. He's going to Washington. There's a story out there that Washington may try and put the franchise tag on Kirk Cousins one more time just to F with him more than anything else, but also to protect what they might get back in return.
Get back for him. It's exactly right.
But by God, if you're not going to pay him, let him go.
Well, that's the thing.
And you just brought in the guy that's going to replace him.
So is Cousins going to one of those teams? Cleveland or Denver or New York, possibly. So, I mean, that's going to change the whole top of this draft if and when some of that happens.
And the other thing, too, is that some people still believe, even though Blake Bortles' wrist surgery pretty much guarantees his $19 million deal, hey, Mike Glennon's now a backup in Chicago.
For $16 million or whatever it is. Yeah.
So it's workable.
Yep.
It's workable. So Jacksonville may still be in play. NBA free agency is bananas every offseason.
Yep.
This is going to be the closest thing to that because of the quarterbacks that are in play in the NFL's offseason. And now we get into offseason story number 2.
Is this the beginning of the end in New England?
I don't know.
Well, I mean, listen, the bottom line is it starts with the quarterback who, as we've talked about through this domination with the quarterback and the coach, name the Hall of Famers he's played with.
Randy Moss. And maybe somebody else.
I'm going to say Gronk.
Ty Law.
Gronk.
Tyler will probably get in.
But it's not, you can't start listing them off. You can list off the first couple, and then that's it. So what he's done, and in my eyes, he's got 2 more years, if that. So, yeah, I mean, it depends on what your definition of the beginning of the end. Next year, no, I think Belichick's back. I think Brady's back. I think Gronk is back. So they're going to replace their coordinators and possibly some position coaches as well. And we know the last time that happened, it was a 10-year span before they won
another Super Bowl.
Before they won another Super Bowl.
They went
correct.
to 2.
They did. So
42 and 46.
Still pretty nice. You still went there. So it depends on your definition of, is it the beginning of the end? I still think there's a couple of more years where this team can do something. By a couple more years, I mean as Brady's a quarterback.
Brady, to me, is the key because at some point, Mike, it's happening.
Oh, it's exactly right.
At some point, Father Time wins. That's the whole point of his documentary, Tom versus Time. He's the oldest quarterback to start in a Super Bowl. He's the oldest quarterback to set all kinds of records, but he will be 41. He'll be 41 in August. It's going to end. It catches up with everybody.
It will.
The question is, because he's not going to get better at 41. The question is, how long can he maintain? And he was the MVP. So if you can maintain that level for 2 more years, God bless you. That's great. But at some point, the decline is coming, and you have to wonder, will it be this next season? Or like you said, maybe 2 more years at 42, 43. Right. It's insane that we're even having this discussion.
I agree.
He is rewriting the record book on so many levels. And that leads me to offseason story number 1.
Can the Eagles repeat?
Free Meek Mill.
Free Meek Mill. And when I say repeat, I don't even mean as Super Bowl champs. I mean as division champs.
Right.
Okay? Say what you want about the NFC East, but the only constant there is change. The last team to repeat as champs in the NFC East, you know what it is?
Who's that?
The Philadelphia Eagles, 2003 to 2004. Every year since 2005, a different team has gone on to win that division.
Who has the best shot to dethrone them?
I would probably say Dallas.
Yeah.
Because, the Giants, they got a lot of issues they got to work out.
Do.
Washington is in sort of a reboot mode. Now, we'll see what Alex Smith can do if he plays like he did in Kansas City. I think you feel pretty good about that. If Sean Lee is healthy and can stay on the field.
Which has been an if.
A huge if for them. The defense is good enough. And if you get the right weapons around Dak, and Zeke is there for 16 games.
My money is still on Philly, not only winning the division, but even getting back to the Super Bowl. Now, let's see when Carson Wentz comes back. He should be able to start to work in training camp. Will he be ready for game 1? If he's not, will Nick Foles still be there, or will Philadelphia be offered a king's ransom for him and take that? If Nick's there, then he can just fill the void until Carson is back. And we know they have most of their guys, 21 to 22 guys are under contract. So it's tough to, outside of some injury, but they had it this year. They lost one of the best tackles in the game, one of the best quarterbacks in the game, best special teamer in the game. I mean, my God. And they still ended up in the Super Bowl. So, yeah, I'd say their chances can be pretty good, even though it's very hard to do.
This is why Howie Roseman won Executive of the Year. 21 of those 22 starters are locked in. Only Nigel Bradham is not locked and under contract for next season. Now, there may be some other issues going on there, but, they have depth. They got guys coming back. And I believe that Nick Foles isn't going anywhere for 2 reasons. One, we won't know until the summer where we are with Carson Wentz and his recovery, and you have the perfect guy to just stay in there and right the ship and win games for you. And their quarterback number combined against the cap is under 15 million. There are 18 starters in the league that have, or not even 18 starters, or 18 quarterbacks in the league that have a higher cap number than those 2 combined. It is an unbelievable luxury, and quite frankly, one they may need because they won't know until later on, well after free agency starts, where they are with Carson Wentz.
Hey everyone, Mike Golic here. Support for the Golic Wingo podcast comes from our friends at Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Chances are you're confident when it comes to your work, your hobbies, your life. Rocket Mortgage gives you that same level of confidence when it comes to buying a home or refinancing your existing home loan. With Rocket Mortgage, you can apply simply and understand fully so you can mortgage confidently. To get started, go to rocketmortgage.com/Mikes. Equal housing lender, licensed in all 50 states, NMLS consumeraccess.org number 3030.
I'm a robot vacuum cleaner, so yeah, I got 1 gig. I suck up dirt, so pardon my inferiority complex about Geico, who does so much more. Like, not only could they save their customers money on car insurance, but they got fast and friendly claim service too, and an award-winning mobile app. Plus access to licensed agents 24/7. Who am I kidding? I can't even do corners. Uh-oh, choking hazard.
Popcorn kernels.
Geico. Expect great savings and a whole lot more.
We continue on Golic and Wingo on ESPN Radio and ESPN2, presented by Progressive Insurance. All phone guests join us via. Do you like via or via?
Via.
Via? All right, we'll go with via. Or vase or vase?
Vase.
Yeah.
Vase.
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 A vase.
Right. Well, via the Shell Pennzoil Performance line and get your all your 100flowers.com in a vase, according to Mike Golic.
Wingo or Tool?
Both.
Okay.
Pretty much, I think they're synonymous.
There you go.
They're the same thing. Really.
Isn't that synonymous?
Yeah, that's pretty much what it is in my household. By the way, if you on Twitter right now, our NFL on ESPN account just has the footage of the Lombardi Trophy landing in Philadelphia. LeGarrette Blount is very happy with it. It's pretty good. Obviously, the Eagles are feeling really good about things, as they should, having won Super Bowl 52, taken down the New England Patriots. But, Mike, you pointed that out to us yesterday, and we played it earlier in the show. We want to play it again. Center Jason Kelce, who had an unbelievable game.
Yes, he did.
Blocking all over the field, was really emotional after the win, and he sort of explained why he was so just drained and emotionally spent after the game. Take a listen to this.
I found myself in the shower crying, dreaming of this moment. You've worked so hard your whole life to get here. Everything culminates. And I can't help but think back to a quote my grandfather gave me from Calvin Coolidge about persistence. I'm not going to say it because it's a little long and it'll drag home, but he gave me that quote when I was 18 years old, when I was not given a scholarship to play at any Division I university. My father and mother told me to stay after my dream. And I've officially accomplished the best thing in this sport with a group of guys who mean the world to me.
Mike, I'm getting chills listening to that again.
Yeah.
You know, it sums up everything about what it is to play a team sport and to be there with somebody, pulling somebody else, and realizing you're at the mountaintop. And for those that don't know, here's the entire quote from Calvin Coolidge, who was the 30th president of the United States. Nothing in the world can take the place of persistence. Talent will not. Nothing is more common than unsuccessful men with talent. Genius will not. Unrewarded genius is almost a proverb. Education will not. The world is full of educated derelicts. Persistence and determination alone are omnipotent. The slogan, press on, has solved and will always solve the problems of the human race.
You know, it's I love hearing the people, once you hit the top of the mountain, how they do that, how they kind of look back. And everybody's road is different.
Yep.
Some roads are a lot straighter and cleaner than other roads, or the peaks and valleys and twists and turns that they take. But it's kind of how I always like the Hall of Fame speeches. I know about the person that's in the Hall of Fame and their stats, but tell me about your road.
Right.
You know, tell me what got you there and what you had to overcome. And Jason Kelce told you there what he had, some of the things he had to overcome. And then you get that culmination. You know, it would have been so nice. My boys were so close to it, you know, in the national title game in college, where there's only one team standing. In every sport, you get to a championship, there's one team standing. That means the other teams in playoffs, everybody, their last game was a loss. And then in the regular season, some of you weren't good enough to even get to the postseason. So only one team gets to finish that way. And then you get to kind of reminisce about not only your personal battle to get there, but also as a team, what you all went through. And with the Eagles, it was a lot of injuries to go through and whatever else they went through that we don't know about that goes on in that locker room. Plus just the fact of all the time together. That's why the searching out of teammates and the hugs and the I love yous are really heartfelt, as this is what 32 teams, what almost 2,000 players strive to get to. And we as 53 guys, and add the practice players and add the coaches and add the equipment manager and the trainers and the ticket people and everybody else, we all as an organization, we are at the top of the mountain.
You know, it's that old line from Bill Parcells when he's mic'd up and, you know, sort of encouraging the Giants on the bench. This is why you lift all them weights. This is why you do this stuff.
Yep.
And to see it pay off and to hear the emotion in his voice. Look, we all get into sports because we either played it or we like watching it. But then you hear the stories, stuff like that. That's what keeps me going. That, 25 years into this, that stuff. I mean, I literally got chills hearing that for the second time. this morning. It was just amazing. And that was just one story on the Eagles. Then there's the story of Nick Foles, left for dead basically in the NFL, was going to quit, had nothing left, wasn't going to do it anymore.
He decided to quit.
He decided he was going to walk away, then was talked back into it, and he addressed that after he won the MVP. This is what he had to say about failure.
I think the big thing is don't be afraid to fail. I think, in our society today, Instagram, Twitter, it's a highlight reel. It's all the good things. And then when you look at it, you think like, wow, when you have a rough day or your life's not as good as that, like, you're failing. And I don't think, failure is a part of life. That's a part of building character and growing. Like, without failure, who would you be? I wouldn't be up here if I hadn't fallen thousands of times, made mistakes. We all are human. We all have weaknesses. And I think throughout this, just being able to share that and be transparent. I know when I listen to people speak and they share their weaknesses, I'm listening because I can resonate. So I'm not perfect. I'm not Superman. Might be in the NFL and we might have just won the Super Bowl, but hey, we still have daily struggles. I still have daily struggles. So, but that's where my faith comes in. That's where my family comes in. And, I think when you look at a struggle in your life, just know that, that's just an opportunity for your character to grow. And that's really just been the message. Simple. Like, if something's going on in your life and you're struggling, embrace it because you're growing.
That's great, too.
Well, I mean, it's true in sports. It's true in life. I mean, you look at someone's character. When things are going well, that's easy to show good character. It's when things aren't. How do you step up then? What kind of person are you then? And then when you're preparing to do something, then you get to, I'm sure it could be in obviously all walks of life, but we're talking about sports here. When you want to make that your living, in whatever level you end up getting, high school, college, or you make the living in the pros doing it, you have to understand that no matter what position you play, at any point you could make the block or the play that decides it, or you could miss the block or the play or drop the ball or not throw it well enough in the opportune moment where all of a sudden the focus on you is you in a negative way. You have to accept both sides of that. The good from all the team stuff can come as well as the bad can come from. And you have to know that. And you go in every play, and quite honestly, I keep bringing it up, but I think in a team sport, I bring up John Hanna, the Hall of Fame guard from the New England Patriots when we had him on air years ago. This dude was about as rabid a nutcase player as could be on the field.
One of the best ever played.
And I asked him, how he did it, and he said out of fear. And I said, fear? I said, what's your fear? He said, fear is letting down the guy next to me.
Yeah.
He said, that's my biggest fear. I don't want to be that guy to let down the rest of my line or the team. But that's a possibility. When you're out there, you're playing to be the best, but you also know you could add that play where the spotlight's going to be on you. And then to Nick Foles' point, how then do you get up? How then do you react from that? How does Marcus Williams come back from that play against Minnesota where he got there early, ducked it, and all of a sudden there's Diggs running away and the game's over?
Right.
How does he now come back from that? That's the true test. That's not going to define me. I'm going to come back better than ever and not make that mistake again.
Yeah, and that's sort of that's the beauty and the pain of sports right there, is that you lay it all out there. And that's why I thought what Foles has said there is so important. What did you learn from that?
Yeah.
Don't be afraid to fail. Everyone successful has failed 100 times more than they've been successful. And it's interesting when you said fear. Gary Zimmerman, offensive lineman, the only offensive lineman that was all decade of the 80s and all decade of the 90s. When he would line up next to Stink, our buddy Mark Schlereth, after every play and the huddle was called, he'd go to Mark, what's my assignment? What's my assignment?
Yeah.
He was so paranoid.
It's amazing.
It may be an offensive lineman thing.
Oh, I think it's definitely an lineman thing.
He was so scared that he was going to screw it up.
Yeah.
He was like, Stink, what's my assignment? What's my assignment?
Yeah.
And Stink would have to, okay, well, on this play we do this and we do that.
Right.
Every single play. So even the best that have ever done it are dealing with that fear of failure almost on a daily basis, and that's okay.
Yeah,
just put yourself out there.
Yeah.
Dream big, kids.
There you go.
Dream
Life
big.
lessons.
That's the most important thing. Mike, I feel like we're getting very philosophical today. We had the Jason Kelce thing, which I thought was great. It's amazing. I have never seen this Calvin Coolidge quote before. Had you seen it before?
Where would I see that?
There you go. Well, maybe in one of the comic books that you read.
That's just not funny at all. That's nothing cool about that.
I had not seen this before, so I thought it was great. So we played that a couple of times today. And then, of course, we had the Nick Foles thing about failure. And it sort of translated for me into something that happened yesterday that has nothing to do with sports. So if you'll allow me a little platform here. John Mahoney passed away yesterday at the age of 77. Now, if you don't know who John Mahoney was by name, you probably know him if you saw his face. He was an actor.
Yep.
He was best known for playing Fraser Crane's dad for 11 years on the show Frasier. But John Mahoney's story is really fascinating. John Mahoney was born the 7th of 8 children in Blackpool, England, and went into business right out of his college or university years. Did that for, I think he was an insurance salesman. I literally believe he was an insurance salesman in Chicago. Chicago became his adopted hometown. He moved there. And at the age of 37, Mike, is when he first started acting.
That's something, isn't it?
At the age of 37. He had never done really anything. He had always had this itch to scratch. He was pretty successful.
Right.
He had made a living and was doing well. But at the age of 37, he said, you know what? Something burns inside of me. And I would be kidding myself and selling myself short if I didn't give it a shot. So he gave it a shot, and it turned out to be an amazing career. Look, most people know him from Frasier, but he was in many, many movies.
Oh, man.
Tin Men, a great Barry Levinson film about aluminum siding salesman with Richard Dreyfuss in Baltimore in the 50s and 60s. One of my all-time favorite movies, Say Anything, that starred John Cusack, about Lloyd Dobler. You know, this guy who didn't know what he wanted to do with his life and was hanging out with Ione Skye, who was the valedictorian of his high school, and she was going to be a fellow scholarship in England and all this kind of stuff. He was also in one of the great baseball movies of all time, 8 Men Out.
Yes, he was.
He was the manager of the Chicago White Sox that became the Chicago Black Sox. He actually won a Tony on stage in 1987. This guy, he was in Moonstruck, which is one of the great movies of all time, which I really loved from a certain generation. But this guy was 37 years old. He had never done anything. And he decided, you know what? I want to try this. So, kids, we're being real philosophical today. You know, if you have something that you feel is a passion, man, strike out there and give it a shot. You never know what's going to happen. This guy was all set up. He was going to be a businessman, whatever, all this. And he decided at 37, I got to try this. And he came out and look what happened. And
worked out pretty well.
Worked out really well for him.
So, as you said, best known as Frasier's dad in Frasier. And I loved him out of the crotchety old man that he was. I dug him. And as you mentioned, so many different films as well. But that is kind of a wild thing of rarely to see somebody starting that late in life doing other things and say, yeah, I'm going to make a career shift and have it be successful like that.
And it was The House of Blue Leaves is what he won I actually saw him on stage doing that show. He did a lot of voiceover work in a lot of movies that you would never, obviously see him, but you would hear his voice in a lot of this stuff. It was just great. And it's just very cool that a guy basically in his middle age decide, you know what? What the hell? I put all my chips to the table. Let's go out there. He took a swing, and it came out to be pretty cool. So, tip of the cap, and R.I.P. John Mahoney.
Absolutely right.
But another life lesson out there, man. Just go out there. What's the worst thing that could happen?
So, if you were going to change your work now and go to something else, what would it be?
That's a great question. And I think I would like to be a marine biologist.
A what?
A marine biologist.
Really?
Yeah, I'm fascinated by the ocean.
Really?
You know, the ocean, we know so little about what's down there. It's amazing. The deepest depths of the ocean are, 10 times deeper than anything or any tall mountain. I mean, it's just, there's so much down there that we don't know.
You're really deep this morning.
I am. It's maybe because I'm going on vacation.
Maybe. You're really getting
You don't like this kind of me, do you? Give me the superficial idiot is basically what he's saying.
What do I want to do if I'm going to flip houses?
Yeah, well, you want to do that? No?
Absolutely right.
Yeah.
I want to flip. I want to be big on demo day. I want to bring in the heavy machinery and knock stuff down.
You just want to swing the hammer.
Pretty much.
There you go.
You
don't want to build anything. You just want to build it. You want to tear it down.
Well, before you build it up, you got to break it down.
So you're the tear down
your guy.
You're the tear down guy.
Yeah.
I think the ocean's fascinating.
You have a ball in it.
I'm just not smart enough to do. You know what? I'm going to be in the ocean. I'll be in your shark cage with you. We're coming back.
Hey there, I'm a glue stick, so I have one job. I glue kid stuff. So sorry for being jealous of Geico, who does a ton more, like give you 24/7 access to thousands of licensed agents. And Geico has been around for over 75 years and has a 97% customer satisfaction rating. While I've just got mediocre adhesive skills, Geico also has an award-winning mobile app. Uh-oh, arts and crafts time. No eating the glue stick, Miss Lydia.
Geico. Expect great savings and a whole lot more.
Valentine's bouquets come in all shapes and prices, but how do you know which one's best when there's so many out there to choose from? Well, it's simple. 1-800-Flowers.com is your Valentine's go-to. Right now, when you order early, you can get 24 multicolored roses for only $29.99. Or upgrade to 24 romantic red roses for only $10 more. It's an unbelievable Valentine's offer from 1-800-Flowers. 24 multicolored roses for just $29.99. Or upgrade to red roses for only $10 more. Roses from 1-800-Flowers are picked at their peak, shipped overnight to ensure freshness and her amazement. 24 multicolored roses for only $29.99 or an upgrade to 24 red roses for just $10 more is the perfect reward for thinking ahead. Look, make sure you lock in this offer. It's only good while supplies last. To order 24 multicolored roses for $29.99 or upgrade to 24 red roses for only $10 more, go to 1-800-Flowers.com, click on the radio icon, and enter the code WINGO. That's 1-800-Flowers.com and enter code WINGO. Order today at 1-800-Flowers.com, code WINGO.
On March 4th in Las Vegas, the top drivers in the game are going all in to win the Pennzoil 400 Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series race presented by Jiffy Lube, where the checkered flag is the ultimate jackpot. Make the switch to Pennzoil Synthetics to get complete protection for top engine performance.
I'm not going to lie to you. That might have been my favorite thing to come out of our Super Bowl week, is getting to do the junior laugh like 4 or 5
really
times.
Good. You have it down. You really do it well. I love how your mouth shapes on that,
well,
too.
There's no other way to do it. I mean, to force it out that way.
Yeah.
I mean, Junior does laugh like he's Pappy.
Yeah.
He has a Pappy laugh.
Yeah.
He doesn't have a 28-year-old millennial laugh.
You have to take the corncob pipe out of his mouth to do the laugh.
It is a full chortle. The
is.
Junior laugh is a full chortle.
It's distinctive. There's no doubt about that.
There's no way. Oh, he's distinctive on many levels.
Yes, he is.
And he was very interesting with you earlier today.
Yes,
you guys
he
got
was.
into it about Malcolm Butler.
Yeah, we did.
Golic and Wingo on ESPN Radio and ESPN2, presented by Progressive Insurance. All phone guests join us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. This hour of Golic and Wingo, by the way, is brought to you by La Quinta Inns and Suites. Book at LQ.com and win at business. And there were a lot of things to get into with the Malcolm Butler situation. First and foremost, the mystery still is around there.
Right.
We had Mike Reese on earlier today talking about it, and we asked Mike Reese specifically what more he could tell us about why Malcolm Butler wasn't playing any defensive snaps on Super Bowl Sunday, and it kind of remains a mystery.
Was there anything else during Super Bowl week that happened that led to this decision? When did players find out? I'm hearing a lot of conflicting stories on that, and so it's sort of hard here to get to the truth right now. Some more time needed.
And Mike will get to the bottom of it.
Yeah, he definitely will. I mean, him not playing, really, what was the reason for that? And then not finding out till right before the game, I think.
Do we know that for sure? Because it seems like everything in this story is sort of, I think this is it. I'm not sure what that is.
I think that's why he was the thought he was why he was so emotional, is that's when he found out, or maybe that's when it hit him. I guess we don't know the answer to a lot of things, but my son and I, we went at it a little bit this morning.
You guys did.
We put up the exchange on.
You were not laughing.
At Golic and Wingo about the effect of that. And now that I look back on what we were kind of yelling at each other about, I think we are kind of saying the same thing. I think we have some disagreement, but my thought was, okay, he didn't play. That shouldn't affect your play, like your teammates' play. You can be surprised that it happened, and does it make you worse as a defense if one of your top players isn't out there? Yes, I completely agree with that. It's just like if you get a guy that's injured, you're all of a sudden, he's one of your starters. If one of your starters isn't out there and a backup comes in, you're naturally going to not be as good. I completely understand that. But this seems like it was a little different to my son's point, that would really catch you off guard. You're used to an injury. Okay, you're playing. Oh, he's injured. This guy's coming in. Okay, even though that injured guy is the one, the starter, that gets all the reps in practice, in comes his backup. But, that's how you roll. This seemed like such an odd situation of, when did Malcolm find out? When did the teammates find out? All of a sudden, it's not the normal situation of why someone's not playing. And if they're not playing for a reason earlier in the week, if you knew then, there's a difference of knowing right before the game as opposed to someone getting hurt in the game. So the natural thing is, yes, when you're one of your starters, the guy who hasn't played, who's played 98% of the snaps, isn't in there, you're surprised when it's not injury related and you didn't hear a lot about it. But as I said, it shouldn't affect your play as I don't know how it should. Now, I mean, it'll affect your side of the ball. I get it. But should it affect your play?
Well, here's the deal, and I think you were sort of getting to the same point, but I think the big difference was what you just said. If a guy's injured, you know how it is in the NFL. Okay, he's gone. He's not here. He's dead to me. I can't worry about it. I don't even want to know you. You know what I mean? You're out. Right. Don't even come to the training room. Don't do anything. You're gone. But if it's not an injury and it's something else, and the game is struggling, and you're having some issues on defense, and you're wondering, in the back of your mind, you're wondering, wait, why isn't he out there? That's a different deal. I'm with Junior on this. It's a different deal. But
listen, I'm sorry, I'm not. If
Don't be sorry, be who you are.
If you're Trey Flowers or Lawrence got a couple of D linemen, if you're up there lined up for a play or whatever and worrying about why he's not back there, that's your fault.
No,
you go play the game.
I agree with you on that
How is that going to affect what that D line is? As I said, as a defense as a whole, I understand you not being as good. I get it. But if you start telling me that a guy is going to be worrying about why isn't he out there more than his play, well, that's on the guy.
No,
that's on the guy.
That part you are 100% right on. But if they're all human. I mean, right. we look at them as robots. At some point, these guys are going, I mean, why in the hell is this guy back here? What's going on here? And if you're thinking about that at all at any time, and they do it, you try not to, but they're gonna do it. Suddenly, your focus that has to be razor sharp and laser like is not the same. And if an injury, you're like, okay, the guy's gone. Nothing I can do about that. But we can do something about that guy who's not on the field.
You can put him in the game.
You can put him in the damn game.
I can see way more of an effect on the defensive backfield. If you want to say that, yeah, but the position I play D-line, if it's a secondary guy, it's not affecting my play. I can sit there, as I said, you can tell me I'm human and worry about it all I want, but that's still my fault. Technically, from how you play out there with the other DBs, can there be an effect? Yes, because a player that technically is not as good, because it's not one of the starters, is out there, so affects your rotation out there. I can see that. To me, it shouldn't have any effect on the offensive guy. No, but on the offensive player out there. You can think about it all you want, but I don't know. You know, maybe
the offense wasn't an issue. They had 613 yards.
No, that's
the only
true.
team that ever had 600 yards. And lost.
Just don't get the correlation of okay. I'm sitting there if I'm playing in Philadelphia, and all of a sudden we go out in the game and Eric Allen isn't on the field, and I'm like, what the hell's going on? How is Eric not on the field when we need him on the field and we didn't know what was going on? But I can't let that affect my play as a defensive lineman, so I guess that's more where I was going. Is your defense worse with Malcolm Butler not on the field? Yes, it is. I completely agree with that.
The only thing I would say is you're right. Unless you're running a game with another defensive lineman, you're pretty much beat the guy in front of you, or you're running a stunt.
Yes.
The secondary is so interconnected.
Well, that's what I just said.
So interconnected.
Well, that's what I said.
I
understand the secondary where those guys now may be a little out of sync just because of the way it happened.
And then you're
at
wondering,
you got to put it aside and play ball.
Right, but as you're playing ball, you're saying, okay, does this guy know in this coverage that I'm supposed to be doing this and he's supposed to be doing that? That's part of the process of a guy who's been there 98% of the snaps.
I understand that, but the guys, the second teamers are working in practice. They roll them in. That's why the next man up. I mean, that's the whole thing. It's not like Rowe went in the game and they were like, who the hell's this guy? I've never met him in my life. They know who they are.
True, but at some point in the second quarter, when you look up and you're down 10 points, 22-12, and your defense is getting torched, don't you go, hey, this guy, why, how, what's going on here?
I agree with that.
And that takes you out of the game a little bit mentally. It does.
I don't know about that.
I'm with Junior.
I don't know about that.
I'm Team Junior on this. I like you a lot.
I know. That's okay. That's all right. No problem.
I want you to know I really like you a lot. Just want to make sure we're good there.
I like that. Oh, my God.
You ever read?
Yeah, I do. Okay. I'll do that. And then we'll do some of the...
Just reminding you of the business of this part.
Okay, let's talk about Stoli Vodka, one of the world's most awarded premium vodkas. With a commitment to uncompromising quality since 1938, Stoli controls every aspect of its vodka making, from planting, harvesting the finest ingredients to distilling and bottling. This process has been followed for decades to guarantee the consistency and quality, the signature ultra-smooth taste in each iconic bottle produced. It's time you picked up Stoli Vodka for a try. For those who know their vodka well and themselves even better, Stoli is the vodka. Check out Stoli as the official vodka and Sports Illustrated swimsuit issue. Enjoy responsibly. 40% alcohol by volume. Imported by Stoli Group USA, LLC, New York, New York.
You all right?
I'm doing fine. I thought we were doing that after we did these predictions.
Oh, sorry. I thought we were doing it in between.
Yeah, no problem.
We get it all straightened out. I'm worried about the yellow fever malaise a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm worried that the yellow fever malaise might be kicking in.
Yeah.
All right, so we did my 5 NFL offseason
right.
top stories, and one of them was the big quarterback situation. Well, proving how much better Dan Graziano at his job than I am at mine. I did 5 overviews, and
yes, you did.
All of the quarterbacks were one of the 5. Dan has taken the deep dive here, and I mean the deep dive. He has 10 predictions for the 2018 NFL season.
Yes, he does.
And one of those involves future Jet Kirk Cousins.
Yes, it does.
So his number 1 prediction is that Cousins, all the places he can go, he goes to the Jets, Mike. That's the prediction from Dan Graziano.
Wow. Jets, Browns, Denver Broncos, Arizona Cardinals, all teams that need a quarterback. And the bottom line is you have to pay big money. Now, the Browns have a ton of money to pay him because this is a $100 million deal, right? Starting. Yep. And I mean, close to guarantees. The biggest guarantee is Andrew Luck at $87 million, I believe, in that area there. So this is going to be the next thing, and everybody's going to yell and scream that he's not worth that. But you know what? That's the market right now. That's what's going to happen. There's a starting point there for the quarterbacks, and that's what he's going to get. So you know what you have to come to the table with to sign him. That's a pretty good one. Yeah, that's a pretty good one.
The Jets were surprisingly competitive this year. What was the joke? And I'm sure Greeny said it 100 million times as a Jets fan. They may not win a game. They're going to set the record for fewest points, yada, yada, yada. The Jets were a hell of a lot more competitive than the Giants were this
completely
year.
Were.
And they have the cap money, and they need a quarterback. But do you think the Jets are a quarterback away from being a playoff team? The defense was pretty good this year.
I mean, any of these teams are the Browns getting a quarterback away from the play? I mean, you get this quarterback to build. He's 29 years old. It may not be next year that you're that playoff team, but you're doing it for a reason. Anybody who signs Kirk Cousins, you're signing him for the long haul, saying this is going to be our guy. Right. So the Jets, not a bad, at least going out on, I don't know how much of a limb, we'll see. Again, you could pick a handful of teams, and Jets are certainly one of them.
Well, they have some cap space.
Yep.
And they were much better than people thought. The bigger issue here is, will Kirk Cousins hold up all the dominoes?
Right.
Because I don't think anybody's going to go and sign somebody else until they find out what Kirk Cousins
he's going to do. Right.
So he could be the first one to follow. Staying in New York, he also says Odell Beckham Jr., who missed a lot of this season because of the injury, is going to sit out at least one regular season game. Not because of discipline. He thinks it's going to be about his contract getting done.
A la Aaron McDonald.
Correct.
Aaron McDonald.
Aaron
McDonald.
Aaron Donald had
your defensive player of the year, who missed a game, missed the first game, came back before the first game, but came back in during that week, so he didn't play in that first game. So I could see Odell doing that, missing a little bit of time. He's not going to miss the season or anything like that. Could he miss some time? Possibly. And then you worry again about injury coming back. Didn't happen with Donald. He had a monster year. But eventually Odell Beckham will be in a Giants uniform, and he'll be getting paid a lot of money for it.
Yeah, and you know what? Quite frankly, he deserves the contract. I mean, he's clearly outperformed his rookie deal, and he is one of the most dynamic. Now, he's got some issues he's got to work with, and by issues, I mean controlling his feelings and controlling his temper. Everyone wants to fuel their fire, but you can't let it spill over and affect your play. Right. And that's the issue he's got going. Okay, we had 8 new playoff teams this year in the NFL. Dan says there's going to be at least 5 next year, and these are the teams he likes. The Jets, the Chargers, the Raiders, the Packers, and the 49ers.
Well, that's 3 AFC teams, so you got to kick out 3. Could you kick out the Buffalo Bills? Could you kick out the Tennessee Titans?
You could.
As well. You'd have to kick out one more. You kick out, and that would be New England, Pittsburgh, Jacksonville, or Kansas City.
Kansas City's going to be interesting because of the transition.
You got a new quarterback. I don't care that he's in his second year. It's going to be like a rookie year for Pat Mahomes. So, and the Chargers, we saw how they were playing.
Yeah.
And the Raiders, John Gruden back, 2 years ago, the Raiders, we were like, oh my God, they're going to make this move. And then Derek Carr gets hurt. And Packers, listen, whenever Aaron Rodgers is going to be your quarterback, you got a shot. And the 49ers, man, I tell you what, you got to love the direction they're going. And Jimmy Garoppolo has been nothing short of sensational for the 6-win team last year when he finally got his chance. So that's pretty good predictions, I think, out of him.
Well, I think the Packers are the easiest bet there because of Aaron is healthy. Yep. He's great. Then he has Le'Veon Bell signing that contract extension. It sounds like they're making progress toward that.
I think that
way ahead of where they were a year ago.
That obviously Le'Veon Bell wants way more than he's probably going to get, as most players do. And the team wants to pay way less than they want to pay, and it'll meet somewhere in the middle. Either way, he'll be the highest paid running back.
Probably get about $25 million in guaranteed money. That would seem about right for the running back position. He also has Josh Allen as the first pick in the draft, but he doesn't start a game in 2018.
Means they'll have, and in this case, Graziano says that they're going to pick up A.J. McCarron in the offseason. It would be a trade, I would imagine, right? The backup quarterback for the Cincinnati Bengals, and he'll quarterback until Josh Allen is there. Todd McShay's mock draft is out, and he does not have Josh Allen going number 1 to the Cleveland Browns. We'll get to that in a minute. But so we'll see whatever pick it is, if that pick does sit for the first year.
Yeah, it's interesting that he has there, as we're going through Dan Graziano's top predictions for the 2018 NFL season. He has them picking up McCarron. They tried that once already.
Yeah, they did.
Didn't quite finish the deal.
Didn't kind of work out the way they wanted to.
Second time around, it'll work for the
Yeah.
Browns. How about this? 6 more coaching changes after the 2018 season.
Baltimore, Cleveland, Denver, Washington, Tampa Bay, and Seattle, where he says Pete Carroll will retire. But so that'd be John Harbaugh, Hugh Jackson, was it Vance Joseph? Who I mean, was there just 1 year last year.
Hung on by the skin of his teeth this year.
Jay
really
Gruden
did.
and Dirk Cutter, with a lot of people thought might lose his job this year in Tampa Bay. And
Listen,
John Gruden maybe would have filled in there.
The one thing that you say with great certainty every year in the NFL is there will be change.
Yeah, there will
be coaching changes. How about this one? Nick Foles leads the Eagles to a 3-1 start while Carson Wentz continues rehab, and that's, Mike, why I think he's not going anywhere.
Yeah, again, it would. Everybody has a price. Will somebody, offer that price to the Philadelphia Eagles? Because Carson Wentz, the thought is, remember, he heard it in December against the Rams, I believe it was. Mm-hmm. So 9 months is September.
You usually talk about a full year.
Yeah, and so 9 months. Could he be back? Yes, he could be back. But then it's the thought maybe 11 months to a year where he looks like what you saw when he was playing well. So, and it looks like he should get some time in training camp. But if it's close, then do you want that backup plan, which really is going to be an interesting decision for the Philadelphia Eagles if they get a quality high offer that really makes them think. About, okay, what do we do here?
See, I think it's more likely that they trade him before the trade deadline in the regular season. Because, look, they could do it absolutely. But to me, if I'm Doug Peterson, look, I want to make sure that we're good with the quarterback. And we won't know about that with Carson for a long, long time.
I absolutely, and he may want that. Howie Roseman may, when he's listening to the phone going, wait, you're offering us what?
Yeah.
And say.
He got a 1 for Sam Bradford once.
So it's going to get real interesting with that.
The thing there, too, is that, look, Phillip Rivers once played an AFC championship game with a torn ACL.
Yeah.
Number 1, it was a playoff game. You do whatever you can.
Right.
Number 2, Phillip Rivers is not Carson Wentz. A big part of Carson Wentz's game is his
movement,
his mobility. And you want to make sure that we saw that with RG3.
Right.
If you come back too soon, it's a real problem.
Yeah, you don't want to mess around with that.
And it throws off your dynamics and mechanics everywhere else. So you got to make sure you protect that. So he has Foles there starting the first 4 games. Andrew Luck at number 8 as Dan Graziano's top 10 predictions. Returns and plays all 16 games. Well, wouldn't that be a sigh of relief?
Great to see. I mean, so much promise was put on Luck, and, early on you're like, wow, this kid's living up, and now he's got all kinds of, the injury issues that are going on. Everybody with the thought of a potential another surgery may be happening. So with him coming back, it would be great, but that team is a mess. I mean, they need so much more talent around him.
Well, I think GM Chris Ballard's going to do a really good job there. He sort of righted the ship after everything that went on with Gregson, and I think they'll get it going, but they've got to make sure Andrew Luck is healthy and ready to go. Herm Edwards, when he was here, he said it back then when he had Chad Pennington. It was the same surgery.
Right.
He said it took a full year, and that we're just about that full year now from the shoulder surgery that he had last offseason, and hopefully Andrew Luck will come back and play really, really well. Number 9, and this would be a win for everyone. The NFL changes the catch rule to appease fans and increase scoring. I'm not sure if we want to increase scoring.
Yeah,
let's just make it clearer, man.
Let's not do it for the reason of increasing scoring. Let's just do it for the simplicity of knowing what a catch is.
Yeah.
And that is exactly it. Make it a little more simple for fans to understand, but make sure the refs can understand it and everybody really understands what a catch is going to be. So let's simplify the process. I'll be interested. They're going to come up with something different. It's just a matter of what they come up with. And if we go, okay, that makes more sense, or we go, what?
Yeah.
Okay, we still don't get it.
I'd like somewhere between your idea and Drew Bledsoe's idea.
Yeah, a 6-year-old deciding or a bar of drunk people.
Exactly. Drew Bledsoe's what a 6-year-old saying, catch, not a catch. Your thing is let the people do it like Gladiator. Thumbs up, thumbs down at a bar somewhere that's not in the city where the two teams are playing. And by the way, Dan, kudos to you. We're 2 days removed from the Super Bowl. He's already got Super Bowl 53 mapped out. The Saints will beat the Steelers in Super Bowl 53.
How about that, huh?
I don't know.
I had
Drew Brees at 40. Drew Brees at 40 next year, right? Drew Brees will be 40 or 39.
What did Drew Brees do last year? Oh, yeah. Great things. And, they got an unbelievable running game as well. I mean, Drew Brees, what do you have? 23 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, 4,300 yards, 72% completion. And he's got Ingram and Kamara in the backfield.
Really nice running game.
Good defense. So, yeah, I could see that.
The defense really made a huge step forward after 3 years being the worst over that 3-year time frame in almost every statistical category. So kudos, Dan. I felt good about my 5, and you just lapped me.
Yeah, you did. Good job, Dan.
Nicely done. Golic and Wingo presented by 1-800-Flowers.com. Valentine's bouquets come in all shapes and prices. But as you know, Mike, the best, the simple best, are at 1-800-Flowers.com. 24 multicolored roses for only $29.99. If you don't like that, you can upgrade to 24 red roses for only $10 more, and these are picked at their peak. They are fresh. They're the best. To order, go to 1-800-Flowers.com/ESPN. So we just did our 10 predictions, Dan Graziano, for 2018. But before we get to the 2018 regular season, we've got to get through the player procurement era, and that means the draft is coming up. And when we come back, Todd McShay in studio with his new mock.
Hey everyone, Mike Golic here. Support for the Golic Wingo podcast comes from our friends at Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Chances are you're confident when it comes to your work, your hobbies, your life. Rocket Mortgage gives you that same level of confidence when it comes to buying a home or refinancing your existing home loan. Rocket Mortgage is simple, allowing you to fully understand all the details and be confident you're getting the right mortgage for you. To get started, go to rocketmortgage.com/Mikes. Equal housing lender, licensed in all 50 states, NMLS, consumeraccess.org number 3030.
Hello, I'd like to deposit this to checking.
Fate is a fickle master.
What?
The future is uncertain.
Okay, and what's my account balance?
The horizon is cloudy. I see a long, treacherous voyage filled with great peril.
Look, can I just get a deposit slip or something?
A fortune bank teller. Surprising. What's not surprising? How much you could save by switching to Geico.
I see a yellow-eyed serpent and a low APR.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
Golic and Wingo on ESPN Radio and ESPN2, presented by Progressive Insurance. All phone guests join us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line, but right now in studio, you've got Todd. ESPN NFL Draft expert Todd McShay joins us in studio, giving the Straight Talk, brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless. Best phones, best networks, no contracts. So it sounds about right, Todd. We're 2 days after the Super Bowl. We are on to the draft. We are on to the draft. We are moving on.
Not all of us are on to Hawaii, so.
Yeah, isn't that the truth?
Come on, hop on. Plenty of room.
Yeah. Have fun with this guy all day.
Big plane. Big plane, Todd. Big plane.
Almost done with him.
Yeah, literally on so many levels.
Yeah, well, there you go.
It's been a good run. We had a couple of good months.
Yeah, we did.
So this is mock number 1?
2.
Yeah, that's right. 2. Yeah, the first one right after the season.
Yeah.
How many are we going to do this year?
I don't know.
I will say, I know you hate doing all the ones, but boy, this year, I think more than I sit there more than any. I'm trying to think back. The quarterback situation from trading to free agency is really going to mess with the top of your draft.
But we're actually going to, for once, we're going to need to do.
Yeah, that's exactly right. That more my point. So for those that don't know, because it just was released, Todd McShay's draft has the Browns taking Sam Darnold number 1. I'll do the top 5 right now. The Giants at number 2 taking Josh Rosen, the quarterback from UCLA. The Colts at number 3 taking Bradley Chubb, the pass rusher out of North Carolina State. Then the Browns get another pick, number 4, Saquon Barkley, the running back out of Penn State. And here's the one that's going to get all kind of talk.
Here we go.
The Broncos at number 5, Baker Mayfield from Oklahoma. So first, I guess we should start at 1. Why Sam Darnold over Josh Allen, over Josh Rosen, over Baker Mayfield? That's number 1.
It's a tough call. It is, because you can make an argument for and against, I think, all of these guys. You know, with Josh Rosen, I think he's the best pure passer in class. I think you got to investigate who he is and what his priorities are and go from there. There are questions about him. And the mobility is a factor as well, lack thereof, and being under pressure and making some mistakes when under pressure because he's not able to escape like these other 3 quarterbacks are. Baker Mayfield, obviously, 46 starts, experienced, leadership, the energy that he brings. The lack of size doesn't concern me as much as some other people, but it certainly factors in. And then we just got to figure out how he's going to handle all the attention. And, you know, he certainly likes to have the the circus around him.
Right.
So
he does.
So where he lands will be important. To me, that's that pick, and I'm skipping forward here, but the Broncos sitting at 5, if Allen and Mayfield are both on the board at that point, that'll be really interesting because John Elway and the staff coached both of those quarterbacks at the Senior Bowl. Elway was at the College Bowl game for Josh Allen against Central Michigan, and so he's clearly doing his digging on those, as you will with all of these guys, but having the personal time that staff had with those players. And also, if they decide to go out and get a veteran and say, you know what, from our experience that week with these guys, maybe they're not going to be the guy. And maybe we're not as sold as we wanted to be going into that process. So it's going to be interesting to see what comes out of that.
Here's the question I have, because this all, as we know, may change depending on what happens in free agency.
Right, exactly.
So let's start with Cleveland, because we had Joe Thomas on this show and on NFL Live last week, and he said John Dorsey, the new GM, doesn't like playing a rookie quarterback. So let's assume that they get a veteran. If they get that veteran, where does Cleveland go at number 1?
Well, if they get a veteran
Barkley
that they plan on sticking with and being the guy for a long period of time, then I think it would be Saquon Barkley. I think he's the best player in this draft. But if they get a bridge the gap veteran, then I still think you go with the quarterback there and hope Barkley's there at 4. But if not, you're getting Bradley Chubb, another pass rusher which they could use, or a Minkah Fitzpatrick, which is a versatile defensive back that can do a lot of different things for you. So either way, I don't think the Browns. It can go wrong, but
you were just about to say either way they can't go wrong, and then you realized the team you were talking about.
Right, but John Dorsey's here now, and hopefully for Browns fans, things will start to turn around and be different moving forward. But they have good options sitting there at 1 and 4. It's not like they're in a situation where they're stuck at 3 and there's 2 quarterbacks, or there's no other player that fits a hole that they need.
Right,
they're in a good position to have a big-time haul from this draft.
They absolutely are.
And
yeah,
just hope that it's not history repeating itself.
Well, the problem for them is if they do choose a quarterback, now it's going to be okay. From everybody's kind of looking at it, we have a 1 in 4 shot here, and they're going to choose a quarterback, and the natural assumption is they're going to choose the wrong one when they see this go on. Because I should mention, in the 6th pick, you have the 4th quarterback going in the top 6 pick, and you have Josh Allen going to the Jets. Again, a name we don't see, and we were talking about just a couple other names, and maybe they'd sneak into the back of the first half or back of the first round if there's a trade up. A Mason Rudolph, a Lamar Jackson, those two guys.
Yeah, and talking to more guys in the league down in the Senior Bowl, I think there's a legitimate chance Lamar Jackson could go late in the first, as whatever that team decides, to draft him for.
Right.
And
he's going to be a quarterback at first.
Listen,
don't you think?
Here's what 9 out of 10 people were saying, and it's personally, I agree with it. I think you draft him because he's been the most explosive player in college football the last 2 years with the ball in his hand. And then you figure it out. But what's going to be interesting to see is how willing he is to go in the league. And I think most teams I talked to, as I said, are looking at him as a package player, if you will. So we're going to use him on some third downs. We're going to use him in the red zone, goal line situations, but then also try to get some value out of him just getting the ball in his hands. Somehow, some way, some shape.
Why would he not be, considering he was a Heisman Trophy winning quarterback?
Because he has a lot of work to do on his accuracy, and he has a lot
Josh Allen is at 56% over 2 years in his career.
I understand.
It just seems weird that we're saying, he may be a quarterback, he may not be, when he's been a very successful quarterback.
And I think you're going to draft him to try to develop him as a quarterback, but if it doesn't work out, he's too explosive not to have him on the field.
So there's a plan B, is what you're saying.
That's what I believe.
I would completely go. You take him and you put him in packages, and if it doesn't work out there, you morph him into something else. The problem with him, Trey, is he runs so much. Yeah. He's going to have to stop doing that because he's getting broken half. He will not survive running that much in the NFL.
There's no question. We see that from all even Mariota, who's got to stop running as much as he has because it's gotten him in trouble a couple of times. All right, let's play the same game with the Broncos that we did with the Browns at number 1. Denver, they got a defense that's ready to win now, and I don't know if you can get a rookie in Baker who's a little undersized, who's going to sit pretty well in that locker room. Let's say they get Kirk Cousins, or they find somebody else on the open market that they're able to land. How does that change what Denver does at 5?
I think then if you're at 5, you got 2 options. Obviously, you see who's available. Is it another defensive player? Is it a Bradley Chubb or a Minkah Fitzpatrick? I don't know that you're going to go Calvin Ridley that high, but I think the good spot you are in if you address the quarterback position is you got the Jets sitting behind you. And then any other team like the Dolphins sitting at 11 that is looking for a quarterback, if there's one or more quarterbacks still available, then maybe you get to move back a little bit and get some additional picks and continue to try to build that offensive line. I think that's got to be a priority for the Broncos at some point in this draft. And, they used a pick early last year. They've got to continue to do that and continue to build that group because it doesn't matter who they bring in at quarterback. If they can't protect better, they're just not going to turn the corner.
The rest of the top 10, I went to 6 with Josh Allen. You have Minkah Fitzpatrick, the defensive player from Alabama, defensive back going to the Tampa Bay. Calvin Ridley going to the Bears. Hopefully they can get a wide receiver that can stay healthy. And then 9 and 10, they still have the coin flip, right, at the Combine. Right now you have the 49ers taking a quarterback, Denzel Ward, Ohio State. Number 10, the Raiders. Tremaine Edmonds, the pass rusher, outside linebacker, DN from Virginia Tech. Quickly from the Broncos, is 5 too high if they get that quarterback because the line, I agree. Quentin Nelson is the top O lineman, but he's an interior lineman. You know how that thought process is sometimes from an interior lineman. But you want to talk about the ultimate plug-and player and just go in and help a line get better right away.
I couldn't agree more. I would argue that it's an easy argument to make. He's one of the 5 best players in this draft. I've talked to 2 different personnel directors, general managers in the last couple of weeks who said outside of Barkley, he's the best player in this draft. And so
Quentin Nelson,
he's a guard. He's going to go.
He throws people.
He's ridiculous.
He probably is the best tape of anybody in the entire draft.
That is true.
I mean, he manhandles
If you
guys.
can guarantee, I know it's a guard, but if you can guarantee me you're going to get a Pro Bowl player and that he's going to be safe and you know what he is, his makeup, I don't have a problem taking a guard.
What's interesting, you have him going 11 to the Dolphins. I go back to the draft that had Zach Martin in it from Notre Dame as well, coached by Harry Hiestand. But all those guys drafted Greg Robinson, Taylor Lewan. It was Matthews, Jake Matthews, and Zeke and Zach Martin were all tackles.
Yes,
and Lewan ended up at left tackle.
Right.
Greg Robinson ended up out of the league. He just didn't pan out at all. Matthews ended up at the left tackle. He started out at right. And Zach Martin is one of the best guards in the game. So
about to get paid. By the way.
He is about to get paid. So what's the deepest position to you in this draft?
Well, quarterback, first of all, is deeper than normal, I would say. But running back, and it's not reflected in this, but we all talk about Saquon Barkley. There are so many running backs in the 2nd, 3rd, 4th round this year. Ronald Jones, the 3rd from USC, is explosive. Darius Geist didn't have a huge year, but Leonard Fournette's back up a year ago. Wait till he works out. It's going to be his stock is going to hit north fast. All the way down to like Rashad Penny from San Diego State. This class, I think you're going to see somewhere in the range of 10 running backs in the 2nd and 3rd rounds. And I think, you're not fired up to use an early, this high of a pick on a running back, but Saquon Barkley's got a chance to be.
We've seen, Todd Gurley. We've seen these guys come in. Zeke. It's really weird how the running back has come back in vogue after really good picks suddenly pan out.
There's 2 years where we didn't have a 1st round pick, and all of a sudden, the running back position's dead.
All right, you mentioned and what Geis is going to do when his workouts. Someone who's already gone this week.
Mentally?
Yeah. Well, I'm checked out. No, but this guy at the Senior Bowl. And you have him right now going 14 to the Packers, and that's Marcus Davenport.
Yes.
Is he the ultimate boom bust guy in this 1st round?
Maybe. Yeah. Maybe. He certainly is. He's a guy who, almost like Ziggy Ansah, very different background and story, but just wasn't heavily recruited. Winds up at Texas San Antonio. I popped in the first tape I watched with Baylor, and he's just all over the field. Yeah. And they've upset Baylor, as you well know. They held him to 10 points at Baylor. He is so talented, but he is just scratching the surface right now in terms of what he can be. Ziggy Ansah, I think, is a very good comparison physically because of the length and the power and the quickness, but he's going to have to continue to develop. It's probably going to be a year or 2 before you get him to a peak level.
The guy in the 1st round that makes you go wow the most.
Wow, by wow you mean like
wow? I can't wait to see this guy play.
I think Denzel Ward is a player that no one really talks about. I think because at cornerback at Ohio State, you're sitting behind some pretty good players, and
played pretty well this year in the league.
But he might be Marshawn Lattimore. He's right up there in terms of just explosive athletes. I think this guy is going to be a really good pro. And if you're looking for someone just man-to-man coverage, he's the best in the group.
Boy, he ends up with the 49ers. That'd be something, the team they're building out there.
Right. Yeah. I'm curious to see what Derwin James is at the next level, because he had a disappointing senior year, but he played every position on that defense.
Right.
From putting his hand in the dirt to playing safety.
And that can hurt you, though, at times, right? But jack of all trades, master of none?
Yeah, but I
Jabril
think
Peppers kind of situation.
Yeah, Jabril Peppers, but I think he's a player that, remember, he came off the injury from a year before. The team fell apart. It was not a good situation. But you go back to his first year, he is a special player. That he's explosive versus the run, and he can cover too. I think he and Minkah Fitzpatrick are two players that fit today's NFL really well.
All right, Todd, we'll see what happens. This will be the second of 743 drafts.
Yes, it will.
That you'll do before the end of the month of April, when we'll be out there in Dallas. We'll all be there. Appreciate you stopping by, my friend.
Thanks, man.
Aloha.
We will. Yes, we will.
Whatever.
We'll react to Todd's draft after this, and then mahalo, people. Yeah, how strong, by the way, would the tranquilizer have to be for you to just say, I'm going to fall asleep in a driverless car?
No way I could relax enough. And I know it's coming. It's going to happen. We're going to have to all buy into it at some point. This car's going to come pick you up like Uber or something, and there's going to be nobody driving it. And you're going to willfully get in that thing and close the door and let that thing take you into traffic with nobody driving it.
It's a little scary.
God,
I mean, you'd have to have a horse tranquilizer, I think, for me to do that. I mean, I'd have to be like semi-conscious.
Yeah,
that's the only way
it's
around.
A tough
that.
call, and yet we're going to do it.
We are, and when we do it, you know what we'll be doing? When we realize it's not a big deal.
What's that?
We'll have the last laugh. Now that's Junior. Here's my attempt at it. It's pretty close.
Really good.
Pretty close. No, we should have a test when Junior gets back and when I get back. Which one is his and which one is mine?
That's really good.
Let's do that one more time. Which one is which?
Now, I know because I know his laugh so well, but those are pretty darn close.
He's got a little, he's all about the bass. He's got a little more.
He got that bass.
A little more bass.
Got a little more to him there. You know what I'm talking about? A
little more bass. Mm-hmm. Hey, by the way, check out the First Draft podcast with Mel Kiper Jr. and Todd McShay every Friday on the ESPN app and Apple Podcasts.
So this is the biggest thing that's going to happen with the Browns, because there's glass half full, which I like to be, and then there's your glass is shattered against the wall, and that's every Cleveland Browns fan out there.
Correct.
So they all know it's just because Mel Kiper in his draft had Josh Allen going to the Cleveland Browns. Now Todd has Sam Darnold going to the Cleveland Browns. If they do take a quarterback number one, that's going to be the thought of every Cleveland Brown fan out there. Is there were basically 3 to 4 to really choose. I don't think anybody thinks Baker Mayfield is going to go number one, but of Rosen, Darnold, and Josh Allen, that Cleveland is going to choose one, and it's going to be the wrong one.
Well,
right?
that's the running gag in Cleveland, and also with Jets. I mean, what did Stugott say? Whoever they take, it's going to be the wrong choice. It's going to be the wrong quarterback.
I think, if you were the Jets, put it this way: Browns, Broncos, Jets. Of all those teams, would you go get a veteran quarterback before you drafted a quarterback?
If I'm the Broncos, I would get a veteran, because that defense
is ready
to go. And you don't have a long window with that defense. You know, they won a Super Bowl 50 and they haven't made the playoffs since, because basically the quarterback play.
Mm-hmm.
Because of the quarterback play. They tried with two power forwards in Brock Osweiler and Paxton Lynch. Stop drafting 6'8" quarterbacks.
Right,
it never works. It's never worked. It never will work. So let's go get a guy. Let's go get a plug-and-play guy like Kirk Cousins. Hey, man, look at this defense. We'll get you the running game going, and you're good to go. The receivers are still good. You know, they still have – and by the way, they're getting Jake Butt off the ACL injury from a year ago.
That's right. Yeah.
So the tight end position is going to be pretty strong. If I'm of all those three teams, because you need one for the future in Cleveland, you need one going forward for the Jets. But if you're the Denver Broncos, your chance to win is right stinking now. Let's go in there and get it done.
Will be really interesting. Again, 4 in Todd McShay's draft, 4 quarterbacks in the top 6 picks. Sam Darnold, number 1 to the Browns. Josh Rosen, number 2 to the Giants. Baker Mayfield, number 5 to the Broncos. And Josh Allen, number 6 to the Jets. No Mason Rudolph, no Lamar Jackson. But we all know in the back part of that first round, sometimes you get that trade. Somebody trades up into that back part of the first round to grab a quarterback.
Yeah, McShay has 4 QBs going in the first 6 picks in the common draft era since 67. The most quarterbacks selected in the first 6 was 3 in 99 and 1971. Hey, you want me to bring you back anything from Hawaii? Like a cone of coffee or something?
I hate your guts. I hope you have a great time. I really do, but man, I hate you.
Well, you know, he who laughs last laughs best.
I just saved hundreds of dollars by switching to Geico. I feel like I'm on top of the world.
Disclaimer, you will not be transported to the top of the world. In the unlikely event you find yourself at the Arctic Circle, seek shelter from the elements immediately to avoid frostbite and or hypothermia. Geico will not be responsible if you find yourself in a cave or crevasse with a lonely abominable snowman, who in all likelihood will force you to play games including but not limited to Go Fish, charades, Chinese checkers, or his personal favorite, Red Rover, send Yeti on over. Geico is not liable for any damages, either physical or emotional.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.